Welcome back to another episode of Norm Nathan's Vault of Silliness. Today's feature presentation is a couple of back-to-back hours of a Norm Nathan show from June 22nd, 1996. I have titled it, A Cozy Companion. Not just because we talk about rescuing animals, but because Norm, he was like that to so many people during those weekend overnights. We begin with an excellent traffic report from Jack Hart, sponsored by Acura. Our first guest was Robert Davenport, author of The Celebrity Birthday Book. Now, Norm left the book at home. It was only the second day in the new WBZ studios, and the ensuing growing pains left Norm all discombobulated. Davenport was a great guest with lots of fun info and tidbits about celebrities. He also authored some other creative books on celebrity children's names, celeb pet names, and more. The next guest was Sonia DiTomasso, Director of Public Relations for the Animal Rescue League of Boston. She talked about Morris the cat making an appearance to support their efforts to raise funds for homeless animal shelters. Then, it's on to all sorts of callers. Bob Sacco, who sounded like a guest, but just called in, he hosts a big band show on WAZL in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. Then an unknown caller. We have a lot of those. Ruth Clennett, Norma from Boston, an unknown caller. Bill and Worcester, an unknown caller, followed up by an unknown caller. Dorothy, oh, look, an unknown caller. Charles and John. Episode 240, A Cozy Companion, cuddles its way to your ears now.
The problem to the south of the city right now, Route 1 northbound and southbound in the Rentham area, possibly hazardous chemical situation, has both sides of that roadway shut down, and we will keep you updated throughout the overnight. Otherwise, on foggy and slightly damp roadways, downtown Expressway northbound and southbound at East Milton Square, ongoing construction in that area, northbound and southbound getting in and out of the South Station Tunnel. You're doing well. Mass Pike heading eastbound, coming out of the Alston Brighton tolls, heading down through and into the Prudential Tunnel. Overhead painting until about 5 a.m., possibly later, and that's going to cause delays. I'm Jack Hart, WBZ 24-Hour Traffic Network.
Your participating Acura dealer introduces the new Acura Preferred Pre-Owned program. Pre-owned vehicles meet strict quality standards and come with an Acura-backed warranty. Special lease and financing programs are available.
Every time I came on WBZ in Boston, the Norm Nathan Show.
That's what this is. This is the fabled and legendary Norm Nathan Show, and it's nice to have you with us. We're going to be talking with Robert Davenport just a little bit. He's the author of the Celebrity Birthday Book. And as Tony Nesbitt, who is the chief booker of this swell show, and a position that he holds with great pride, said, the book is packed with thousands of famous personalities, their birthdays, places, and little-known tidbits about them, the kind of an ultimate did-you-know book. Thank you just so darn much. Anyway, we'll be around through the night till, I don't know, either 5 o'clock in the morning or whenever you get tired of me. When you get really sick of me, then I'll take off, whichever comes first. Anyway, as you heard, the Mass Millions, nobody won the Mass Millions lottery, as Don Hoff mentioned, and the jackpot is now up to $763 trillion, the billion, the zillion, the billion, the million, the dollars. The numbers were 16, 25, 29, 35, 41, and 42, who has written a book called The Celebrity Birthday Book. It packed with, as I mentioned, packed with thousands of famous personalities, their birthdays, places, little-known tidbits about them, and all that kind of stuff. Hey, shall I call you Robert? Would that be okay?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, Bobby or something else would not be so good. Robert. I just want to be really official and everything about all this. Anyway, it's nice to have you on the program with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Could I make a really terrible confession? This has been a kind of a wild week. We moved into new studios, and at home things have been kind of wild and stuff. And I don't have the book in front of me, and I feel so guilty about that because I hate to interview somebody who's written a book and not having read it, and that bothers me a lot. I think we can carry on anyway because you sound like a nice guy,
Oh, sure.
Well, I'm so
What am I
relieved.
going to say? No, I'm not a nice guy.
No, I know. I can just tell. I can just tell by your response that you're okay. But I hate to interview authors not being familiar enough with their material, because I think that's really so stupid, and I don't do that normally. But this has been kind of wild. This is only the second day I've been in these studios, these brand new ones. And there have been a lot of bugs that we've been trying to iron out. Now, I won't, belabor that and fill you with our problems, because your book sounds like a great thing. Could you tell me about it? And I tell you what, we do later at night, like between 3 and 4 in the morning Eastern time, we do a thing called the Dumb Birthday Game, in which I mention the names of people who are born on this day. We have a panel of people, listeners, who call in and want to take part in that. And they try to guess the ages, and we talk about the people and all that. And so I got to get your book, because that in the future will be an integral part of the Dumb Birthday Game.
Well, yes, you have my permission to mention it every time you have the show.
Now, who published the book, Robert?
General Publishing.
That's a nice big name. That's like General Electric or General Eisenhower, something like that. Anyway. And it's available most places, I would assume.
Yes, it's available, hopefully, at your local bookstore, because it's, nationally distributed. And if it's not, we have an 800 number as well.
I'm anxious for you to give that to us.
Oh, well, what a coincidence. I have it right here.
That's wonderful. 1-800-birthday-book, that's something. Anyway.
Oh, I wish it was that easy. It's 800-937-5557.
Okay, 937-5557. Tell me about the book, if you would, Robert. I would appreciate that. And then I'll compare your birthday book with my birthday book.
Uh-oh, the test arrives.
No, I have a feeling you're going to come out on top easily.
Well, one interesting thing about birthday books, if you find a famous person and their birthday, especially the year, doesn't match up with the other birthday book, it doesn't mean that either one of the books are necessarily wrong. Because especially back in the studio days, the studios would routinely lop a few years off the ages of their stars.
Oh, yeah.
To make them seem younger. I think James Cagney, they took a full 5 years off his age.
I remember when I was a few years back when I was sort of beginning in radio, a lot of the movie actresses and actors would come into town, and they would list their birth date, the date itself, obviously the day, the month, but they never put the year. And Barbara Stanwyck came along. I'm dropping names. I'm trying to impress you, Robert. I hope you're thrilled with all of this.
Yeah, Ruby something is her real name. I'm trying to remember what her real name is.
Ruby Stevens.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, she came into town, and on her little biography, it had the year, and it looked like it was quite accurate. And I said, "You're the first person that I've interviewed from Hollywood that actually admitted the age." And she said, "As long as you're breathing, who cares?" Something like that. I mean, she was really charming, and I loved her for that. But it is, I guess it is. Well, it is not only true. I'm not. But you're saying that, and I would guess that's so. That they would just as soon be listed as a whole lot younger than they really are.
Right. In fact, with Cagney, I was looking up Barbara Stanwyck, who was July 16th, and I noticed that James Cagney was July 17th. And the studio always said it was 1904, but the real year is 1899.
Okay, let me look up. I'm looking up July 16th. You said that Barbara Stanwyck. I have her born in 1907. Is that what you have?
That's what I have.
Okay.
We have a match.
Okay, and she died in 1990. And you said Jimmy Cagney was what year?
I mean, what? 1899.
I mean, what day, I guess?
The next day, July 17th.
July 17th, okay. James Cagney, I have him 1899 to 1986. Is that what you've got?
Right, but the studio used to say 1904.
So you know what? I think we're right on target.
Right.
We're defying the studios. We're saying the heck with you, studios.
Yeah, we've got it. We've got the truth.
Yeah, that's right. We want the truth. Let's go to today.
I noticed Ginger Rogers was born the same day as Barbara Stanwyck. I think that's kind of interesting.
I think that's interesting too. You know, one great coincidence on June 22nd. Wait a minute, let me see if that's correct.
Is that today?
Well, now it's actually here in Boston. Well, now where are you?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Okay, so you're still yesterday, and we're already today.
I know.
That's silly of me to say that because that doesn't make any sense at all.
It's really cool here. I don't know how the weather is back there.
It is cool here. It's a little damp and raw, and this is a really dark night. I know everybody says nights are dark, and what do you expect? But some nights are darker than others, you know, when there's no moon or not even a half moon or a quarter moon or no stars, and it's all cloudy and kind of foggy and everything. There was one day where Meredith Baxter, this is June 21st, and Michael Gross, both born on exactly the same day. Now, they played the mother and the father in the sitcom Family Ties. I find that to be a kind of a hysterical coincidence.
Yeah, not only is it they're both June 21st, but they're both 1947.
Yeah, same year. And anyway...
Too bad TV shows are normally done with production by that date every year. They probably never got a chance to have a birthday party on the set.
Yeah, that I suppose.
They're usually done by April or May.
You're a compassionate human being. Let's talk now. Okay, in Los Angeles, let's go by your birthdays first, because you're only at June 22nd. We're already June 23rd, because we're New England, very progressive. Meryl Streep was born June 22nd. Now, for example, what would you say about her?
Well, they when she entered show business, they thought that her last name was too strange. You know how show business always wants to change your name.
Yes.
So they tried to get her to change it to Street, but she said it was a
S-T-R-E-E-T, like street, like road, like avenue.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And she said, no, it's a perfectly good Dutch name, just like Rockefeller.
Okay, incidentally, I'm giving wrong dates. It's June 22nd here. It's June 21st where you are. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So she decided she would not change her name.
So it's still the Family Ties birthday twins here in Los Angeles.
Okay. And in my book, and I imagine you have probably more interesting stuff in yours. After winning the award for Kramer versus Kramer, she won an Oscar, I guess, for that, and Sophie's Choice, and nominated for some other things. Anyway, she realized that in all the excitement, she left her Oscar in the ladies' room. See, can you top that, fella?
If only I had a friend in that ladies' room, I'd have my own Oscar now.
Wouldn't that be nice?
All you have to do is chisel the name off.
Yeah.
You don't even have to do that, because when they give them to them, they don't have the name on them.
Now, what happens? Are you supposed to bring them back and then they put your name on it?
Right. You mail it back or you hand it back, and then they put the name on it, and then they send it back to you again.
Okay.
In fact, when here's a piece of trivia. When I think it was Marlon Brando turned down his Oscar, it got recycled in the Academy recycling bin, and it later got reissued to some other guy for like best photography or cinematography or something like that. Then that guy later sold it, and the person who got it checked the Academy records, realized it was the original Marlon Brando Oscar, ripped the other guy's brass plate off of it, put the Marlon Brando plate on it, and then resold it.
That's great.
Saying this is the authentic Marlon Brando Best Actor Oscar.
That's beautiful. You can tell I'm stammering because I happen to be new at this game. I've only been in it for a half a century.
When they called me, they said you'd been in this business longer than I'd been on this planet.
Now, how old are you?
I was born in 1950.
So that would make you, geez, hardly really a kid, 46 years old this year? Yeah, and I've been in the business 52 years. Can you imagine that? And yet I sound so youthful and so
effervescent.
Yeah, so effervescent, so forgetful that I didn't even bring the book yet. That's what happens after 52 years.
Well, I must admit, I've never done this battling books before. This is kind of fun.
You'll probably never talk with anybody on the air ever again like this.
Maybe we'll need dueling banjos in the background here.
Okay. Today, by today, it actually, again, it's today, I think of today as being Saturday, June 22nd. Who else do you have born on this date?
And this date would be June 22nd?
We'll call it June 22nd, even though I know it's June 21st where you are.
Well, let's see. Chris Christopherson was born on June 22nd.
Yes, he was born in Brownsville, Texas, as I recall. That came across that off the top of my head, and also it's in my birthday book.
What I think is really interesting about Chris is that he's the son of an Air Force general, and he was himself an Army officer and a helicopter pilot, and believe it or not, he was also a Rhodes Scholar.
I didn't know any. See, none of that is in my book. People are going to have to get your book.
That's
Robert.
what we would hope.
Yeah, called Celebrity Birthday Book. Got a whole bunch of stuff in there. You know what's going to happen? People are going to buy your book, and then they're going to take part in our legendary and dumb birthday game, and they're going to know all the answers. So I think you're providing a total disservice.
Well, I think every time someone answers something on your show, you should ask them if they got it from the Celebrity Birthday Book by Robert Davenport.
Yeah. See, now for the dumb birthday game, we're on our second volume of rules. See, the first one we went 1,000 pages, and we figured we better put out another volume rather than continue it. And nowhere in there does it say you can't cheat and look it up someplace. So you're safe for now, which means that after you sold about 17 million copies, we're going to have to put you out of bounds somewhere. The only thing I have about Chris Christopherson is the fact that his first name was Christopher Christopherson. I think that's a dirty trick played by his parents. Christopher Christopherson. And he was married 3 times and has 6 children. I don't have interesting stuff like you. And named Father of the Year in 1988. Although how a guy who's married 3 times could be named Father of the Year, well, I suppose why not?
Well, yeah, maybe he gets a 3-part award.
Okay. Today, when I say today, again, today here, tomorrow where you are, Chris Lemon, who sort of acts a lot like his father, Jack Lemmon, he has a birthday too. But who else would you have in there? We don't have to stick with just this date. I'm just thinking of just some interesting things.
Wagner was born on June 22nd, and of course my book also has everybody's real name in it, and her real name is Lindsay Jean Ball.
Ball, B-A-U-G-H?
No, B-A-L-L, like Lucille Ball.
Oh, Ball. Oh, I see. Okay, Lindsay Wagner. And you have her as being 47 today?
Right. Well, she was born in 1949, so that would make her older than me.
Oh, so you're gonna pull age on me, are you, fella? Am I going to keep hearing about this for the rest of our chat? Okay.
I'm just so impressed.
Okay. Let's go back to your date, though. Because you're still into Friday, June 21st, and we mentioned Meredith Baxter and Michael Gross, who played the husband and wife on Family Ties, both born not only on the same date but the same day, same year rather. Mariette Hartley. Who else would you have for June 21st?
Let's see. I've also got Juliette Lewis, who's been pretty hot, in the last couple of years.
Oh, Cape Fear and Husbands and Wives, and received an Oscar nomination for Cape Fear. Natural Born Killers.
Born in 1973.
See. Fortunately, they realized that I can't do math, so they just put the age in this book and not the year they were born. She's now 20. She's 23 years old. Does that figure?
Yeah, that figures because you subtract a 3 from a 6. You get a 3.
Hey, tell me before we go on to some other stuff, Robert Davenport. Is that your real name, Davenport?
Yes, it is.
Well, that's a silly name, and just stop it.
Well, if you're ever down in New Haven, there's a little college down there that my ancestor founded.
It was your ancestor Maxwell Yale?
Close. Close. It was John Davenport, but he and Elihu Yale did the old Yale College down there.
No kidding. So your roots really go deep into New England history.
Very deep into the soil up there. There's one of the colleges up there at Yale's named Davenport College.
Son of a gun. And the closest my ancestors ever came was the Nathan School of Plumbing, as I recall. And that went out of business after about the first 6 months.
I've got your typical American ancestry because on my mom's side, it's her father that got off the boat.
Oh, really? Recently, you mean like in the past 100 years or so?
Yeah, in the past, like, I think 1893.
Oh, wait, that's about 1890. No, my family came over well before that. They were here at least 4 years before that. 1899 is as far back as I can trace it. That's fascinating. Tell me about you, though, Robert, if you would. Are you a newspaper person, or what? Tell me about you. What kind of a person are you anyway? That was acting.
Well, I used to be a lawyer, but I didn't like that, so I came out here to Los Angeles to be a screenwriter.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then I got into writing these books, and so I've turned out a few of these, Hollywood-based trivia books. I've also got a baby name book out there called The Rich and Famous Baby Name Book.
I wondered if I hadn't talked with you on that, because I remember seeing that book.
Or did we talk on the pet names of the rich and famous?
We might have done that, too.
I think that's the one I was on your show before.
I think we've met before. I can't remember where
Maybe in a past
or when.
life.
Yeah, it might be in a past life. I think. No, that's right. That's interesting. And you must have a million projects coming up too. You because I love what you do. I think it must be a great deal of fun. Is it? Besides the hard work that's involved.
Oh yeah, I love the trivia, and I love getting the nice notes and everything, and the phone calls from the celebs when we come up with something interesting.
Do they call now? For example, give us an example, if you would, of that.
Well, I've been working on a book called Roots of the Rich and Famous. It's going to be celebrities and their famous ancestors. And John Lithgow, I'm sure you're all familiar with him. He's got Third Rock from the Sun right now.
Yes.
Well, his Lithgow ancestors come from Boston, way, way back, all the way to the American Revolution.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
And he's related to President Garfield.
Really?
And he didn't know that. And when I wrote him a note sending him the chart, he wrote back and he said, "I've been toasting it all night."
It's kind of funny. Somebody had a routine about President Garfield, saying, you look up Garfield and it said, assassinated by a dissatisfied office seeker.
Right.
Or something like that. That seems like a terrible thing to put on your tombstone. Assassinated by a dissatisfied office seeker. Let's just take a break, because I've got these really swell commercials. How did you go about getting up all these the tidbits of information, all the trivia and stuff that's in your book, Robert Davenport?
Well, the trivia is really fun. I mean, we have a lot of really good libraries and resources out here in Los Angeles, and I just like to, poke around in everybody's files and see what I can find.
Okay, because that is always fun. Tell us. I apologize because I don't have the book in front of me, and I plan to memorize the entire book as soon as I get home, which is where the book is right now, which doesn't do me any good. I will, and I'll surprise you next time we talk. I'll quote page after. I'll say on page 27 it says, you'll be amazed. But tell me some of the unusual things that you did come up with.
Well, I've got a couple of my favorite things. For example, Robert Stack, remember the Untouchables?
Yes, I do.
His dad was the advertising executive that came up with the phrase, "the beer that made Milwaukee famous."
Oh, is that right? Isn't that interesting? That is really interesting. Just as a side issue, Robert Stack has the most boring voice of almost anybody, next to the guy who does the Motel 6 commercials. I just thought I'd throw that in. You don't have to agree with me if you don't want to.
Well, I've never heard the Motel 6 commercials. Now, another interesting fact is the fact that Humphrey Bogart is the Gerber baby on the Gerber baby food.
I didn't know that. I'm sitting there chuckling, getting a big kick out of all these things you've come up with.
Yeah, his mother was an advertising executive in New York, and they said they needed a baby, and she said, well, I've got one. So she brought him in, and that was it.
I wonder if does he admit that, or is he embarrassed by that? You know?
No, it used to be in his studio publicity back, when he was first starting out. You have to always watch what you put in your press releases when you start out, because it'll always be there.
Okay. That's beautiful. Incidentally, on June 21st, which is, again, your date, but we're already ahead of you.
I think we pretty well established that.
Yeah, I guess I have. I happen to be one of these boring people who goes over the same thing over and over again till people listening say, why doesn't he stop? What's the matter with that old man? He's so boring. I wait till it gets to that point. And then, anyway, Jane Russell, do you have her in the book?
Yeah, 1921.
Okay, well,
born in an unpronounceable town in Minnesota.
Yeah, Bemidji. Yeah, Bemidji, Minnesota. And she was 75 this past day, on June 21st anyway. Now, what do you have about her? Do you have about, was it Howard Hughes who developed the bra for her and things?
Right, it was rather a high-tech bra that I think he used some of his airplane technology in to make sure that they defied gravity. Because, he was really big into aviation before he got into lifting women's private parts.
I know, that's right. He had the, what was it called, the something goose.
The Spruce Goose.
The Spruce Goose, the wooden plane.
We still have it out here in Los Angeles. It's like a Disneyland ride.
Okay, that's right. Because you have the Queen Elizabeth still down at Long Beach.
Right, it's parked right next to the Spruce Goose. You can actually get a combo ticket.
Is that right? That whole area is kind of strange. My father's family moved out to the West Coast many years ago, back in the 20s, and my father, being not much of a pioneer, stayed here. He was the only one who stayed here. That's why I'm still here. But
you all have the Constitution down there. You can, I guess, put a nickel in and go see.
I like it. No, I like it here a lot. I'm kind of glad my father was chicken and had no imagination about moving west. But I do get out there every now and then. I had some relatives at Long Beach, and I remember the Queen Elizabeth and the Spruce Goose, and you look out in this beautiful setting, and there are oil wells out there at sea, it seems.
Yep, any place there's oil, people will put an oil well.
I know it. It seems so out of context because the whole area is really quite lovely.
Well, you can even go to a high school here, and out in the schoolyard there'll be an oil well.
Really?
Yeah, right in the middle of the yard.
How long have you been out on the West Coast?
I've been out here since 1984.
Okay, but you're from the East? I know you said your family's from the East.
Yeah, my parents live on Cape Cod.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, and I went to the business school that you have there in Cambridge.
Oh, the Harvard, I think it's called.
Yeah, but I can't talk like the Kennedys, unfortunately. I can't say Harvard yet.
Okay. But no, that's true. People from outside the area who try to imitate a Boston accent come up very short. Well, there are a lot of different kinds of accents. The Kennedys have their own accent, and then we have the Beacon Hill group. You know all this because you went to school here. But the Beacon Hill group, they have their lower jaw is kind of welded in place. They can't move it, so the talk comes out like this a lot. That's not the way the Kennedys talk, but that's the way they talk, on Beacon Hill. Your name would be Robert Davenport, and course, you could be a blue blood yourself. You go back way back, and ancestry with Yale University and all of that.
At least on my dad's side.
Okay.
But on my mom's side, it was interesting what they put on his occupation when he came into America was peasant. Which I always thought, I didn't realize that was an occupation.
That's kind of funny, because my grandfather, Isaac Nathan was his name, blue blood, came in from Poland. I wasn't one of the princes of that country. I wondered whatever they put on his occupation. I never knew him. But anyway, let's pick out some other people, if you would, Robert, that have some interesting backgrounds that would be fun to hear.
Yeah, well, Clark Gable, I think it's kind of fun that on his birth certificate it says that he's a girl.
Is that right?
Yeah, they wrote the wrong thing, or maybe the doctor was a little nearsighted.
Yeah, he might have been a little, as we say in medical circles, for schnurzkit. Kind of hit the bottle a little too much. There was a story about Clark Gable having bad. I don't want to really believe this, but I've heard this a few times. Clark Gable had bad breath, and a lot of the women these lovely women actresses who worked with him, kind of shied away from him when he was kissing. They didn't really enjoy it all that much because his breath smelled. Is there any? Do you know anything about that?
Well, that's a new one on me, but I know he had the big ears.
Yeah, his ears were kind of ugly, but to have big ears and to have bad breath kind of spoils the whole illusion, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can pin back the ears, but I'm not sure what you do with the breath.
I guess use a very, very heavy mouthwash or something. That may not be true. It might have been something passed along by somebody who was very envious of him or something.
Now, we were talking about age earlier. It's interesting, Jennifer Grant, the actress, her dad was Cary Grant, and he was 62 when she was born.
Oh, yes.
So it's never too late.
No, I guess it is never too late. Just fire away those things. You've got some great stuff.
Yeah, now Tony Curtis, his real name is George Bernard Schwartz.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because every now and then he talks about Bernie Schwartz from New York, Brooklyn?
Yeah, that's his real name. And when he got into the business, his agent said, look, I can't get you a job with the name Bernie Schwartz, not even if your name were George Bernard Schwartz. I thought there was either one movie or maybe he was a guest on a television show or something, and he kidded about the name Bernie Schwartz. I thought that was kind of nice, Most actors like him who have played romantic leads in so many movies would shy away from even admitting that they had a name like Bernie Schwartz. Well, a lot of times actors like to memorialize their real name. For example, Red Fox's real name is Fred Sanford. And when they did the show Sanford and Son...
Oh, isn't that interesting? I didn't realize that's where it came from.
His real name is the character's name.
That's funny. That's great. That's great. Okay, you're just intriguing. Let me pretend that now I'm just kind of sitting on the floor and you're holding forth with all this information. Hit us with a few more things, Robert, because I find this just absolutely fascinating.
Well, do you know Bonnie Bedelia? She's the actress who was the wife of Bruce Willis in Die Hard and has had a lot of other acting roles.
Yes.
Well, her maiden name is Culkin, and she's the aunt of Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Home Alone kid.
Son of a gun. Do you do columns? Because this sounds like a great kind of a column feature or a TV feature as well as a book. Do you have other areas that you do besides books?
Well, not right now, but I'll tell you, if a syndicator were to contact my agent, a deal could be struck. I wouldn't mind doing a column.
Okay, well, it's going on over WBZ, which is Clear Channel at night, and of course, it's owned by Westinghouse, which now owns every radio station in the entire world. I don't know whether you heard about our latest acquisition. Our latest acquisition, as though my money were involved.
Well, maybe you own a few newspapers as well.
Well, I don't know. We own Westinghouse bought the CBS radio and television networks, and now is in the process of buying a gang of other radio stations in the Affinity Group, which includes, well, the heck with it. Let them tout their own horn. I'm not going to get into that.
Let's get back to touting my book.
That's right. Let's tout your book. Tell us some more stuff, Robert Davenport.
With Cloris Leachman.
I love her, yes.
Yeah, well, she was once asked if that was her real name. And she said, now just think about it. Would anybody in their right mind change their name to Cloris Leachman?
I know. That's kind of interesting, yeah.
Now, Dizzy Arnaz, who was Lucille Ball's husband, he went to school with Sonny Capone, who was Al Capone's son. And when he decided to do the TV show The Untouchables, Desi Arnaz was the producer of that show, he called up Sonny to get him to be a technical advisor on the show.
Oh, yeah? Okay, I'm just looking him up, too. He's born March 2nd. I want to see if I have anything nearly as interesting as that. No, nothing. He co-starred in the I Love Lucy TV series as Ricky Ricardo with the then-wife Lucille Ball. Before that, he was a band leader. See, if people really want to know about these characters and the fascinating things about them, they really have to get your book.
Oh, they definitely do.
Yeah, because I think you become kind of a functional illiterate if you don't have Robert Davenport's book, the Celebrity Birthday Book, packed with thousands of famous personalities, birthdays, places, little-known tidbits, kind of an ultimate did-you-know book, and his orchestra for your listening and dining pleasure.
Yeah, what was the name of that book again?
I think it's called the Celebrity Birthday Book. It's not a terribly imaginative title, actually, but it's not bad.
I like book titles that tell you what you're getting.
No, that's great. Hey, Robert Davenport, you're really fun. I really appreciate it. And I felt so guilty. I came in tonight and well, I won't go through that whole story again. And I thought, I'm going to have to tell this Robert Davenport that I don't have a copy of this book right in front of me. And I really, a lot of people try to fake their way through. I come out clean. And most of the time I do read. I can't wait to get home and read some more stuff about that.
It makes it easier on me because this way you don't embarrass me by asking me stuff that I don't remember about my own book.
Okay. And I would think, you said it's put up by General Publishing.
Right.
And it should be available most places. And if you're wondering, the toll-free number is 1-800-937-5557. It's called the Celebrity Birthday Book, Robert Davenport. Is there any connection between you and the pieces of furniture or this town in Iowa or anything?
Well, the town in Iowa is a Sergeant George Davenport, who is an Englishman who got himself shot by a bunch of Indians. And that's why they named the town after him.
Okay, but is he any relation to you?
No. Then the furniture, the company, the Davenport Sofa Company, is actually right there in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It's either Cambridge or Somerville. I remember passing the faded, I think they're out of business now. And that's not a relation either.
Okay. I remember Meredith Willson, the great writer, the composer who did Music Man and the Sinking, what was the other one I read? But the Music Man was
Molly Brown?
The Unsinkable Molly Brown, yeah, and who was on radio for a lot of years and used to kid about the fact that he spelled his name with two L's, Wilson with two L's, came from Iowa, and he used to talk about his jokes always seemed to center about this piece of furniture that Davenport used to sit on when he's lived in Iowa. Maybe it doesn't sound terribly funny anymore now that I think of it, but
Oh, I'm laughing.
You sound like a terribly jovial guy anyway. Hey, but thank you very, very much for coming on the show with us. I really appreciate it. I'd love to do this again if it's okay with you.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
You're a good person, and good luck in the book, and good luck on future endeavors, and I hope we'll meet next year at your bar mitzvah.
Oh, thank you.
Take care.
Wait, will that shock my mother?
I know. Take care. That would be the next Thursday. Morris the cat. I'm telling you this, hoping that you'll celebrate in some manner. I don't know how you do that with Morris the cat. I won't mention it at home because I got 2 cats, and they'll be very jealous of me making a whole big deal about some cat. They'll probably say, he makes too much money. He doesn't even have talent. It's in conjunction with the Homeless Pets program of Heinz, which hopes to donate more than $250,000 to help shelters for animal shelters nationwide. And we'll talk about that with Sonia DiTomasso a little bit later on, as we have our exciting parade of guests that go marching through. And throughout the weekend be kind of funny. Sunday night, we're going to be talking with James Swanson, who's written a book on Betty Page, The Life of a Pinup Legend. She's 70 now. Somebody had tracked her down. She's been pretty much in exile, self-imposed exile. In other words, she's been keeping out of the spotlight for a lot of years, but tremendously popular at one point, and involved in, at least the photographer, involved in appearances before some congressional committee where they accused him of being dealing with obscene material and all that kind of crazy stuff. Anyway, we're not going to talk with Betty Page. I wish I could, but she's just not talking with anybody. But the Karen Essex, who wrote the book along with James Swanson, with some great pictures in it, we'll be talking with her. And also the photographer of some of the world's sexiest women, lots of Playboy covers, to his credit, Stephen Wada, and we'll talk with him. That's coming up on Sunday night. Anyway, the time is about 9 minutes after 1 o'clock, and you're tuned, of course, to WBZ, which indicates, in my mind anyway, you're a class act. Lives Cat is coming to town, and if that's not cause for celebration and a lot of parties going on, then thank you very much. I guess I just don't know what is important. Sonia DiTomasso is on the line with us. She's the Director of Public Relations for the Animal Rescue League of Boston. I want to, first of all, Sonia, tell you that I'm delighted there is such a thing as the Animal Rescue League. One of the first dogs I ever had, a dog named Penny, we got from the Animal Rescue League, and he was very, very satisfactory, and I want to thank you for that. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm just fine, thank you. Morris the cat is coming to Boston. This is, I was going to say this is about the second or third or fourth Morris, I guess, but they all look so much alike. They're beautiful animals. And he and his friend, Homeless Homer, and the idea is to raise funds for shelters for homeless animals.
That's absolutely correct. Homeless Homer was started back in 1981, and right now, Morris is now joining forces with Homeless Homer and the American Humane Association, and they're launching the Heinz Pet Products Homeless Pets program. And part of that, they will be joining us at the Animal Rescue League of Boston on Thursday, June 27th at noon. And it'll be a very special visit for us. They're going to be coming and they're donating to our shelter personally $1,000 worth of 9 Lives Plus cat food. It'll help thousands of cats and kittens that pass through our doors each year.
Okay, that's kind of nice. They're talking in terms of raising something like $250,000
overall.
Is that what you
that's
said?
right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is very, very nice. And they will be appearing not only at the Animal Rescue League, which is, I forgot now where that is.
We have 4 locations, but they are coming to 10 Chandler Street in the south end.
Oh,
depending on which entrance you come into, it's either 10 Chandler or the corner of Tremont and Arlington.
Okay. Tremont, Arlington. And then, of course, now, what kind of a cat is Homeless Homer? We've all seen Morris, of course.
Well, actually, Homeless Homer is a dog.
Oh, I see.
And that's why we're adding Morris after all this time. We didn't want to leave the cats out.
Okay. That's kind of funny, because I have a couple of cats and a couple of dogs, and one hen left over from a flock of chickens we once had, and a horse, and they all get along so well. Obviously, Homeless Homer and Morris, the cat, get along well. Because everybody talks about why they fight like dogs and cats. Dogs and cats don't necessarily fight.
No, they usually work it out.
That's right, They test each other a little bit, and then everything's okay after that.
That's right. There's one who's going to be dominant, and they'll lead the pack. Right?
Okay. Now, Homeless Homer, what kind? Is this a mixed breed dog?
Yes, he's basically a mutt.
A mutt. I was trying to avoid mutt or mongrel or words of that nature, and I thought mixed breed was a polite way of saying it.
That's fine, but you know what? There's nothing wrong with saying mutt either. Sometimes they're the best dogs.
No, there's no question about that.
Right.
I think that's quite true. And then these two guys, I say guys, they're both males then, is that right?
Sure.
Okay, you don't call this guy Homeless Homer, do you? Do you call him, because I think he'd be very self-conscious. Just call me Homer. Does he ever say anything like that? I think I'm going crazy here.
I haven't met him yet, but I'll see him on the 27th and I'll ask him.
Okay, because anyway, in addition to appearing at your place at the 10 Chandler or at the corner of Tremont and Arlington Street in Boston, then they make a grand tour for the next 3 days. They're going to be busy little guys.
Yes, they certainly will be.
Thursday afternoon, after they depart from your place, they'll be at Star Market in North Reading, which is up in my area. So I could go by and maybe bring them something sweet.
I bet they'd love that.
Yes, I don't know. Now, what do you bring for a homeless dog and a well-renowned cat? I'm not. I should know. I'll ask my own animals.
Well, if you're going for Heinz, you want to bring them Cycle or 9 Lives for Morris, although Morris is very finicky.
That's right. The whole idea is to buy some Heinz products so that you can contribute to the animals who do not have homes. But in North Reading, it'll be at the Star Market, which is Main Street, which is Route 28. I believe, right in North Reading.
I believe so.
Yeah, and that's at 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Friday they're at 3 different Star Markets. They're going to be busy little guys.
Very busy.
I imagine once they leave their day's task, they'll probably want to sit around and have a little cocktail to relax a little bit.
Oh yes, or a well-earned nap.
Or well-earned nap. Yeah, because they'll be at the 3 Star Markets on Friday the 28th. This is the next Friday. The one in Alston on Commonwealth Avenue at 10. 11:30, they're going to be down at Franklin, which is down south of Boston. And then Norwood, which is also south of Boston, at the Star Market on Manhattan Street at 1 o'clock. And then I'm telling you this, and you already know this.
I know this, but they don't.
Okay. So why don't you pick up on Saturday? Where will they be then?
All right, Saturday, June 29th, they'll start out at the Big Y at 10 o'clock in the morning at 50 Southwest Commons in Worcester. And then they'll be going at 11:30 to the Big Y at the Fair Shopping Center in Spencer. That's 70 West Main Street. And then finally, they'll go at 1 o'clock to the Big Y Fair Shopping Center, 495 East Main Street and Southbridge.
Okay, now you're suggesting that people can have pictures taken with these guys.
Yes, pictures can be taken. That's right. And it's open to the public, so please stop by.
Okay, now, should people bring their own cameras? Will you have cameras set up, or shall they bring their own cameras?
I believe the cameras will be set up.
Oh, you'll have your own cameras?
Right, but certainly feel free to bring your own as well.
Okay, that's kind of
That way it's covered. You never know. You made the best laid plans, right?
Okay, how long have you been public relations director over at the Animal Rescue League?
Oh, about a year.
It sounds like a fun kind of job. How did you? You mind if I talk about you just for a second? I have a daughter named Sonia, by the way.
Oh, I know you do. I'm a longtime fan.
Oh, really? Thank you. 'Cause she spells it with a J, and you spell it with an I.
Yes, I do.
Do people call you? How do you pronounce your name?
I say Sonia.
You say Sonia.
I say Sonia. My family calls me Sonny.
Okay.
Some people say Sonia.
I say Sonia, and most everybody calls it Sonia. Anybody listening really doesn't care what we're talking about.
I know.
How do you pronounce Sonia? Because I think it's a beautiful name.
Well, thank you. Does your daughter have a nickname?
Soan, I guess.
Oh.
People call her Soan for short. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Son of a gun. Anyway, now, how did you happen to fall into this? I wouldn't say fall into this. That's probably not a right way to describe it. How did you happen to be public relations for the Animal Rescue League? And does it interfere with dates are you married?
Yes, I am.
Oh, you are married, so that eliminates the date possibility.
That's right.
Were you married when you got the job?
I married shortly after I got the job.
Okay. Did your husband say, I'm married to I'm going to marry a woman who does public relations for the Animal Rescue League? I think that's an exotic, interesting kind of job.
Well, I think it was fine until after we got married and I started bringing home the animals. For better for worse, but now the zoo is included as well.
No, do you bring home a lot of the animals from the Animal Rescue League?
Well, I tell you, when you first start working there, you have to wait 60 days before you can adopt, so you don't get that impulse that people get when you want to adopt an animal.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But on my 60th day, I brought home Daniel the rabbit, and I brought home a lizard.
Oh, so you brought what? A lizard?
Yes, and I also have a boxer.
Yeah, a boxer dog.
A boxer dog, and
Yeah.
he came home with me as well.
And your husband is pretty agreeable.
Please don't. And then when I get home, he sees the animal, then it's just fine.
I assume that you don't live right in downtown Boston, then.
No, I don't. I live in Townsend.
Oh, Townsend. Oh, yeah. Well, that's quite a distance away, near Fitchburg.
It sure is. Now you know I love my job for the commute.
Yeah, that is a long commute. Yeah, I keep mentioning I have relatives just north of there in Mason, New Hampshire, so I know the area pretty well. Mm-hmm. And what kind of a rabbit do you have?
He is a dwarf rabbit.
Okay, dwarf, because both my kids, including Sonia, belong to the what do they call it, the 4-H Rabbit Club.
Oh.
And they used to have little shows where they would dress up the rabbits, have little costume things.
Oh. So where does the love for animals come from in your family?
What's that?
Where does the love for animals come from in your family? It seems you have quite a number.
Yeah. I've always had lots of animals. I think it's. I don't think there was any love. My folks never would let me have an animal. We had a cat once, but I had to keep it in the neighbor's shed secretly, and I think that's really why I have had tons of animals since. It's sort of to strike back because I've always loved them, but I never could own them.
Well, I can understand that. I have allergies and I'm allergic to animals.
Are you? To cats?
To cats, yes.
I am too.
And dogs.
Oh, no, dogs also?
Right. I wanted to be a vet when I was little and it just didn't work out, so this balances out for me.
So you have these animals. Do they bother you when you have them at home like this?
No, not anymore. I grew up with a poodle, and that was fine because she didn't shed. And then it's been much better. I don't know if it's working at the league. I'm building up a resistance or what, but it's been much better.
I think you sound like a very lovely person, Sonia DiTomasso. I appreciate that. So we'll mention again that starting Thursday at noon, they'll be at the Animal Rescue League and in Boston, and then at all these other places, Star Markets and the Y Market out in the central part of the state, and all of that, and a lot around the Boston area, and Franklin and Norwood, and the idea basically, tell us once again about the Heinz people and what they're doing for homeless animals.
I certainly will. It's the Homeless Pets Program, and consumers are urged to collect program symbols from all the Heinz pet food products. Homeless Homer symbols include Cycle, Kibbles and Bits, and Meaty Bone. And then on the cat products, 9 Lives Plus and Pounce, they have UPC labels. And if consumers will submit the symbols to their local animal shelter, the shelters collect the symbols and send them in, and we in turn get cash put towards food for our animals. Okay,
when you're talking the local animal shelters, you're not just talking Animal Rescue League. Then you're talking, for example, up around our way, there are some. I guess there's an Animal Rescue League shelter in Salem, and there's also a Humane Society shelter that's nearby.
Yes, it's right down the road. We have 4 locations. We're in Boston, Brewster, Salem, and Dedham.
But these can be submitted to other shelters, even those not run by the Animal Rescue League? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. As long as they participate in the program, you just clip your symbols and send them to your favorite or your local Humane Society, and they can send those symbols in. Hey,
it's very nice to talk with you, Sonia. I hope a lot of people turn out at these various places.
Shelter, as a matter of fact.
He did come from a shelter.
Yes, and number 2 came from a New England shelter.
Oh, really?
Word has it might have been our Brewster shelter.
Oh, wild. Great. Anyway, thanks a lot for coming on. Good luck to you. Hope this turns out to be a great success. And I know that the shelters are, I'm trying to say this without getting too sloppy.
That's okay.
But the people do not fix their cats and dogs as they ought to. And so they begin to multiply, and a lot of them then that turned out, and they're wandering around the streets, and it's not right to treat living creatures like this. So it's a delight that there are places like the Animal Rescue League who can take care of animals and give them a home and try to find homes for them and all of that. I'm starting to slobber, see.
Well, I thank you very much for bringing that up, and people, we do encourage to certainly spay and neuter your pets for that exact reason.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cruel not to do that. Sonia DiTomasso, thanks a million.
Thank you so much, sir.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Did you hear that she called me sir? Home and soon, and that you completely recover. It's good to have you listening to us. I really appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much, Marge Champagne. You're okay. Okay, 254-1030. We'll take some calls in just a couple of minutes.
Let's go drifting by.
Hey, you know, I do that same imitation. Maybe we can have
good.
two. We have two Arthur Godfrey. What about in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, on the shade of the
Love it. Same vintage, you know?
You know, we're both getting really sickening, if you ask me. Do you do a big band show on radio?
I do every Sunday morning, 4 hours from 9 to 1, WAZL.
I'm sorry. Well, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. You gotta,
excuse me.
Your diction has to be a little clearer. Did you say WAZL?
Right, in Hazleton, Pennsylvania.
Hazleton, Pennsylvania.
You know where that is?
No, I have no idea where that is, but I'll bet it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful town.
It is indeed. We had a property up in your neck of the woods many moons ago. We broadcast from the Bradford Hotel. Is that still around?
Yeah, yes. Well, it's not called the Bradford anymore, but the building is there, and it's a hotel.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, the WBZ studios used to be in the Hotel Bradford, Boston.
There you go. We had a fellow by the name of Sherm Feller. Remember Sherm Feller?
I certainly do remember Sherm
Is
Feller.
Sherm still around?
No, he's not. Sherm died within the past couple of years, I guess.
Is that right?
His last job was he was public address announcer for the Boston Red Sox.
I didn't know that.
Very nice man.
His wife was in showbiz too. Remember?
Yes, her name is Norma. That isn't the name she used. Judy.
Judy. Yeah.
Judy was her. Yeah.
And you know, my hero was, and you remind me a lot of him because you don't take yourself too seriously. That's why I like to listen to you. Larry Glick.
Oh yeah, Larry's a fun guy. I wish he was still on radio. I enjoyed listening to him.
Do you know where he is?
Yes, Larry now is an advisor to the Indonesian president.
With Boutros Ghali?
Boutros Ghali.
I knew he would wind up there.
He's retired from the business, but is well and I'm sure it's very, very active.
Oh,
it's something or other. I don't know
what a gem. I did want to make a correction. That fellow who wrote the book, you know, what's in their birthdays or things like that.
The celebrity birthday book.
Yeah, Humphrey Bogart was not the Gerber baby. He actually was the Mellons baby.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, the Mellons baby.
The Mellons baby.
Yeah.
Now, what is Mellons?
I don't know. Probably another food like baby Gerber, but he wasn't a Gerber. That's a misnomer, and I thought I'd clear that up for him. But he was interesting. I'm going to try to get his book too.
Yeah, I'm going to have to read it next time. I felt like a fool. I thought he was coming on another day, and I never did kind of prepare for it. But he was a nice man, so it didn't really matter.
Keep up the good work, Norm. Enjoy listening to you.
You talk like Arthur Godfrey when you don't mean to talk like him.
No, I don't. But they accuse me of that sometime. And I used to enjoy listening to Arthur Godfrey. I enjoyed listening to remember Don McNeil
and the Breakfast Club. Yeah, he just died recently.
Passed away. I think the last six months. Yeah. You
know what's really awful? You get to a certain stage in life where you say, remember him, he just died. And remember her, she just died. And you're absolutely like the voice of gloom. I've tried not to say that. I say that to my kids, and they say, oh, Dad, come on.
Stop it. How long you been in the business, no?
I've been in the business now for 52 years.
I started June of 1944.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
I started in May. Why am I talking this way? I started May of 1944.
Is that right?
We both started at the same time.
Right, yeah. And I was with Armed Forces Radio.
Yeah.
And we're in Japan, over in Korea. We had a property up in Maine for a while, WIDE.
Oh, in Biddeford.
That's right, Biddeford Saco,
Sure,
like my
Biddeford-
name.
That's right, the Biddeford Saco
But
area.
that's only one C, S-A-C-O. Mine's S-A-C-C-O.
But that's your name, Bob Sacco?
Right.
And your family owned the station in Biddeford?
No, it was a family. We had a corporation, started out in WAZL in Hazleton, and we went up to Boston, went up to Maine, and we thought it was a good buy of both places, but didn't fare out too well.
Oh, so did you own WAZL?
I wish I did. No, I did one time, some time ago, but I come back to do big band, and big bands are going strong.
We have a lot of them around here.
We get $40 a minute, and in a market our size, we're only 27,000.
Isn't that amazing?
That's good bucks.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, I enjoyed talking to you. Keep up the good work. And
hey, good luck to you, Big Bob.
Yeah, tell Larry Glick, that Italian guy from Hazleton, sends his best.
Bob Sacco.
Right.
Easy.
With BZ?
I mean, I heard you prior to you, years ago.
Yeah. I've been here at BZ. I'm not really sure. I could tell you about my earlier part of my career, if you call it that, in radio. I seem to know every year where I was. The last years are kind of blended together. I think I've been here about 10 or 11 years.
Have you really?
I think so.
Yeah, I was just thinking it would be 6 or 8, but my gosh, 10.
You may be right. I'm not really sure about that, but I think it's closer to. I think it's closer to 10.
Really?
I think so.
Well, see how fast the time goes when you're having fun.
When you're whipping it up like this, I tell you, the years just float by.
Well, you sure make these.
This is Norm. Yes, does it sound differently?
That I am still sitting in the same chair that I was in last night, holding this line.
What happened now? I saw your name on the screen here. It's one of the potential people, but we didn't get to you.
I thought, well, how did Robert get through when we're having all those technical difficulties? You got Robert.
Yeah.
And I was there and there. I'm still sitting here. I'm not even.
Well, let me explain about the technical difficulties, because I know a lot of people are listening and saying, "Ooh, technical difficulties. I wish he'd go on for hours about them." No, what the situation is, we're in new studios now.
Yeah.
In the same building, in same WBZ Broadcast City. We're on the 73rd floor now, as you know, right across from the WBZ Granary and fancy gift shop and perfumes from foreign countries.
I'm going to be working in the gift shop.
Yeah, well, I hope so, because we're recruiting people now.
I got a part-time job.
Okay, did you get fitted for your uniform?
I did.
Okay.
And a badge.
Okay. But anyway, we're in a new place. You know something? I don't feel I'm worthy of this building. This building is so huge.
It's getting bigger.
Incredible. And this company is buying everything in the entire world. They were just out in Middleton, and they just bought my hometown.
Well, I was thinking, actually, I have something that I really called to talk to you about after this, but you said you wanted something named after you, remember? So I was thinking, when we talked about Norm Nathan Lane, that was kind of funny, because we didn't think that. Norm Nathan Lane, you could be related to him, but
that's
now...
right, Nathan Lane, the actor,
right,
yes.
But now, why don't you ask the management if you could get a station, and we could call it the Norm Nathan Broadcasting Company. They have so many.
I suppose they wouldn't even miss giving up one, would they? They wouldn't even notice it. Yeah.
So I thought that over last night while I was holding the line. Wasn't that wonderful?
Do you realize I'm now for the same company that has contracts with Imus and Howard Stern
and David Letterman.
And David Letterman, yeah, that's nice. And Imus is good too.
Yeah.
That other fellow, I was thinking of resigning in a huff, saying if you're going to have him, that this company isn't big enough for both of us, fella.
Well, anyway, the real reason I started this call last night was I was going to call you at your house yesterday because Donna Murphy and Lou Diamond Phillips were on the Rosie O'Donnell show.
I saw them.
You did?
I did see them.
Good.
10 o'clock yesterday morning.
Yeah,
saw them, yes.
And the best thing about the Rosie O'Donnell show is there's no Jerry Springer. She's taken over.
Well, I think some of those a lot of the talk shows are going anyway. A lot have already gone,
And some of those who have remained are trying to upgrade their shows, although the hosts are so greasy that I think there's no way they can do it except by dumping them. And I'll name names at a future time.
Well, I'm glad that you saw her, because she looked great, didn't she?
She looked good, and he looked good. He looked like a very decent guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought, and Rosie O'Donnell, I haven't seen too much of the show. I saw a little bit of that.
It isn't bad, actually.
But you know, it's gotten some pretty decent comments, and I think if replacing some of these awful talk shows, I think that's uplifting just by itself. What does that mean? It's uplifting just by itself. I don't have any idea what that means.
Now, to P.S. this,
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
To P.S. this Donna Murphy thing, because we know she's from Topsfield.
Yes.
I read in the paper the other day, a young lady named Tara O'Brien from Milton, who actually was on that television show I used to do also, is the understudy to Julie Andrews in Victor Victoria, and she's going to take her place this Sunday for the first time, and she's from Milton, Massachusetts.
And her name is Tara O'Brien.
Tara O'Brien, right. And she was on community auditions, and then when 42nd Street was here last week, the young lady, whoever she was, who had the lead, was ill at the beginning, and another young lady, because I heard Joyce Gohayward talk about this, came out of the chorus to take the part, and she was on community auditions, and her name was Sherry Condon from Quincy.
Well, I'll be gosh darn.
We have all these people doing well on Broadway, etc.
And you gave them their start.
And you know what else I wanted to tell you? I heard the lady talking to you last night about Neil Diamond going to the concert.
Yes.
There's a gentleman who listens to your show a lot. He's not 25, and he happens to be a big muck at the company that one of your daughters works for. And he is a Neil Diamond groupie. He has seen Neil Diamond at every single show that's ever been. He's probably listening right now, so I'm not going to say his name. But he goes with his wife to every Neil Diamond concert going. And I read the other day that he hasn't had a hit record since either 1983 or 1987, and he's still drawing 20,000 people every time he does a concert.
Yeah.
That's Barry Manilow does the same thing.
Yeah, one of them had was in concert like 3 nights in a row and packing the place each night.
I think Neil Diamond actually is here a couple tonight and whatever. It's amazing though. I mean, they have this big following. And you know, well, whatever, it's still good.
I think that's very good. I think that was phrased very beautifully, the way you said that.
Seen any movies, honey?
No, I haven't been to the movies at all. I have not seen any movies, except they keep rerunning Murphy's Romance, which is still one of my all-time favorites.
Oh, yeah.
But that's on television. I haven't been to a movie theater, and that's too bad, because I really like going.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff out. I guess Arnold Schwarzenegger's new movie's got some pretty good reviews, if you like action-packed.
Yeah. No, it has. I guess it has gotten some decent reviews. What's it called? Not the Terminator. That's the other one.
Eraser.
Eraser.
And Vanessa Williams. They say she does a very good job.
Esther Williams is in that?
Vanessa Williams, yes.
Oh, Vanessa Williams.
Vanessa Williams. Yeah. What? No.
I thought you said Esther Williams. I thought that's an interesting pairing. Okay.
Well, all right. I'll be talking to you again soon.
Well, I certainly would be looking forward to that.
Don't forget to start plugging. September 21st.
Will you get out of here? Go away.
Got company.
Another baby food company?
And his picture was on that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now, I just want to ask you one question.
Sure.
Am I allowed to have this Ruth's last name so I can write her a note? You know,
yeah, but I don't. Yeah, well, no, I can tell you on the air because we mentioned it on the air. But I can't give you the address on the air.
No, I just want. I'd write to WBZ. You know what it was?
Yeah.
Just after the farm stand last year, I suggested on the Bob Raleigh show that it would be nice if we had name tags, because not only go to spend money and everything, but we look for different people that we hear on the radio.
Yes.
And you don't know them. It would be nice if we had name tags like I'm so-and-so from so-and-so, you know?
I tell you what, why don't you just...
Idea. I'd just like to remind her.
Why don't you? Okay, well, she's probably listening right this minute, so she can hear you anyway. But if you want, you can send just write to me and say, could you pass this note along to Ruth, and I'll mail it to her, and I'll send it to her.
All right.
Okay, we'll do that. But anyway, I'm sure she's hearing you now, and that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, she mentioned it before. I'm just sort of a little reminder.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
The dandelion, they did. The Italians tell us to use it as a green like lettuce with oil and salt and pepper.
Is that what you used it for in your family?
Well, that's what she did. And, that was kind of an all-purpose thing, a dandelion, and the springtime was very good tonic value or something.
Okay. Oh, that sounds like dandelion wine.
No, they made the wine. I don't think my father did that, but... no, this was another thing, elderberry wine and all those things the old people did.
Yes. Yes, my grandfather used to make wine.
Oh, yeah.
His house used to smell from wine and his pipe smoking.
Is that right?
He used to use probably the ugliest smelling pipe tobacco in the world, and that would mix with the fragrance from the wine, the big wine barrels, the grapes and stuff. Yeah.
Well, another thing we used to do, asparagus time is about this time of year. That's another thing. You take a sharp knife and you go out and you chop it off down to the tough part.
Yes.
So we always had a great big asparagus bed, and that's one of the most wonderful things. You don't go down to the supermarket,
I love asparagus, and if you can, well, of course, any vegetable or fruit that you eat fresh right from the vines or the stalks or whatever, I think is just great.
And the wonderful thing about it, every year it grows, and every year you get a lot more of it. And then at the end of the growing season, it becomes about a 2-3 foot. It looks like asparagus fern like you get from the florist.
Yeah.
And this, of course, this whole line is God. Another thing we were thinking about. You had one of the ladies who had written some kind of a book about, I don't know what it was, things that she smelled or something like that. I don't know if I'm correct. And the other day, someone was around, he was putting in, a driveway, We smelled the hot car, and it was, I think we were back with this about 50, 60 years. Did you ever run down the street in the hot summer, maybe 100 degrees?
Yes, and smell the tar.
Yeah, and you've got those big tar bubbles, and we'd run down and do your stamp on them. It was real living, you know that?
No, as a matter of fact, we're talking the other day. I'm trying to think of some other smells and things that reminds you of when you were a kid. I remember that it seemed to me early spring had a smell of its own. Now, the smell is kind of a bad, not the word. Fragrance, I suppose, is the word.
Yeah, that's fair.
There was just something so sweet about the air as the weather began to warm and the buds started to burst, or at least to be formed. The spring, it seems to me, spring had a particularly good fragrance to it. And I remember one of the first jobs I ever had in radio. I was 18, and we had these news machines, news wires, the tickers.
Oh yeah.
And they're made much differently now. They don't have the same fragrance that they did then, but they had ribbons on them and all that, and there was a smell of ink that I have never forgotten. And I remember going close to the machine, to pull off some news stories on the machine. And that had a fragrance of its own. I suspect people, in general, have some of the fragrances, maybe that they've even forgotten about, that were very prominent when they were kids growing up. But you seem to have a sharper sense of smell back then and everything, and you notice things much more than that. And so everything was sharper in your own mind, and certainly the fragrances were really sharp. They do bring back a lot of memories. Somehow, somewhere along the line, you'll catch a whiff of it, and it'll bring you back to your childhood all over again.
It certainly does. And yes, you also, I think, talked one night to one of the ladies who talked about merry-go-rounds, or was interested in merry-go-rounds.
Yes.
And I was wondering if she knows that there is a merry-go-round association.
Yes.
So there are many of us who love merry-go-rounds.
Oh yeah, we've had a few programs through the years on merry-go-rounds. There's a place down south we talked with them where they still carve horses from merry-go-rounds. You think that would have been a lost art, but there aren't as many merry-go-rounds as there used to be. But there's still some around. There's still one down in Nantasket Beach.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
Well, and there's one over here. They used to what was it, to Edaville. I think they were trying to give that away one year.
Yeah.
Not too long ago.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a merry-go-round music on cassettes that you can get. So I'm an old merry-go-round fan too. So it was very interesting. And I think I didn't know that they were still carving them. I thought they looked like plastic. That the last one I saw. So
I don't think so. I think they're obviously the genuine ones are made out of wood, and I know the factory. You call it a factory, and you think of things being mass produced. They're carved by hand.
Oh yes.
And as a matter of fact, you can go down there and take a course on how to make your own horses. That kind of stuff, and they do make them for commercial purposes, but they are made out of wood, and you learn how to paint them and all that, and they're real merry-go-round horses.
Well, isn't that interesting? I know the first ones came from Germany, and that was one of the things that that they did very, very well, like most of the wood carvings in the old days.
Are you talking directly into the phone right along?
Well, we have phone problems.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I think the other day somebody said we should buy a new telephone.
Okay, now you sound good now. The reason I get a little panicky when you start to drift off because
Is that right?
we're in a new studio and everything, and we haven't ironed out all the bugs.
Yeah.
And as a result, when you start to fade off, I think it's probably something wrong with us, but
No,
obviously
I think
it's not.
something wrong with us too.
Okay.
We've had you call a telephone company maybe about 52 times a year, and it's never anything with a phone company. It's always my phone, so
Yeah.
you can't win. It's one of those battles we've had for years.
Okay. Hey, it's good to talk with you. I appreciate the call.
Well, we thank you again. It's always good to hear you.
Thanks a lot. Okay, let's go to Bill in Worcester. Hi, Bill.
Good morning, Norman.
Good morning to you, sir.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, thank you for calling.
I just, I'm sitting here copying the mail, and I'm saying, it's funny because you were talking about smells that you remember from when you were a kid.
Yes.
And, my family's talked about it many, many times. We can always remember after church on a Sunday morning going to Nana's house and smelling the fried meatball. You're making me hungry. The Italian people have been eating dandelions for years. It's got a flavor very similar to chicory, like chicory lettuce.
Yeah.
On the bitter side, and they're great. It's funny. I don't know whether it's an ethnic food that some of the Mediterranean people have eaten over the years, but I had a laugh when you were talking about the smells, because boy, I tell you, I can still smell Nana's meatballs, and I don't think anybody's able to duplicate them.
No, it is kind of interesting. I think that kind of stuff makes a very big impression on you when you're a kid, and suddenly you come across that fragrance when you're older, and it just reminds you so much and brings you back probably sharper than most anything you can think of.
Right, I know what you mean. It's funny because I'm sitting here listening. Now I'm 51, and I can remember back before FM radio, frequency modulation radio. The only thing we could get was AM, and I was stationed in Boston on a Coast Guard cutter. Of course, we used to go out to sea quite often, and the only station that was really strong enough to get was WBZ.
Oh, yeah,
We used to pipe it in through the ship, and boy, I'll tell you, it's a treat when you're away from home for that long to hear something in the Boston area, and especially be able to be able to listen to the news and weather and see what's going on back home. But
yeah, it's kind of interesting because we do get out to a good chunk of the country.
I still get calls now, every now and then, from somebody who's living in, Illinois or Indiana or West Virginia, who's from here originally, and we're kind of like the voice back home, which brings back memories to them, too, now that they're in some new location. So that's really nice. And I know that was true, as you point out, during for the military forces as well.
It's a big thing when you're out on a ship, especially because you don't have any communications, you don't have any newspaper, but when you can turn on a radio station and hear what's going on, even in the middle of the North Atlantic Ocean, when you're out there for 30 days, it makes a big difference. But I tell you, you're doing a bang-up job, and I do enjoy listening to you. I listen quite often. It's a relaxing station. Keep up the good work.
Well, I appreciate that very much. Thanks a million, Bill.
All right.
Yesterday, we really had some severe problems, to the point we had to get our chief engineer, Mark. I forgot his last name.
Oh, that was the guy that came in his jam.
That's right. We got him out of bed, and he did. He had his job. He's still on with the feet and the little hatch on the back.
Killed me.
Yeah, and
I was in a rather grouchy mood, not grouchy, but blah. And you kept me up all night, and I laughed so hard I had to shut my door. They pay comedians, I don't know how many million a year, and you listen to their show, and you don't even crack a smile. Here you are giving all this comedy stuff for nothing.
I'm just too good. I'm too good to be true.
Memories were coming back to me. I remember people cooking grapes, making grape jelly in the fall.
Oh,
making what was the other thing? Pickle lily. Oh my God! And my grandmother making ginger ale. Yeah, root beer. We used to love to go over her house and have root beer.
Oh yeah, you know what else? You just reminded me. You said gingerbread. People used to.
Oh God, yes.
Is there someplace somebody is making gingerbread right this minute? Because I haven't seen any of that lately.
I used to make it all the time for my kids when they were growing up. I really did.
You with a little whipped cream on top? Oh, doesn't that sound nice?
Yeah, it was funny. You were talking about the countryside. I lived up in Dedham when I was a kid. And I remember this kid, when I was in 6th grade, two farms we used to be able to go on. We had a ball, all the kids in the neighborhood. We could go on next farm, pick strawberries in May, and blueberries in July, and our mothers would always make us take our shoes off before we came in the house because the cows went into where the blueberries were. But the funny thing is, this boy's name was Warren, and he came in, and apparently a skunk had met him on the way to school. It was around this time of year, and the teacher kept saying, "Warren, you've got to go home." He kept denying the skunk had touched him, and we had all the windows up, and we were dying from the smell of it. And finally, Warren had to get up and go home.
Oh, poor Warren. I remember one time.
Well, I had more fun when I lived up in Dedham for 4 years before I moved to West Roxbury, and believe me, I loved Dedham. And when I was taking care of my kids and being with them morning, noon, and night when I was working a second job, I'd be thinking of those days, and I felt really hemmed in because I had a girlfriend who used to take me all through the fields up there. She knew all the wildflowers, the herbs and everything.
Oh,
and she was a doll. She turned out to be a gemologist. And her name is Emma Smith, and I often wondered, talking about old friends. She was a beautiful person, and I lost touch with her quite many years ago, I'd say about 40 years ago, but I never forgot her. She really made me appreciate nature in all the ways.
Mention what was her name again?
Emma Smith. And that was amazing.
Emma Smith. That sounds like a made-up name, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know it, but she was. Her mother was Swedish, and her father was English. And her mother used to try to get me to eat the Swedish meatballs and drink the goat's milk and all that stuff, because it was funny. But, I have happy times up there. I really enjoyed it, and I'm so glad I did. Because my kids and my son that lives with me, he has a garden outside. We get everything out in the backyard. We've got grapevine. I'm looking at the cherries. I'm wondering who's going to get them first, the birds, the squirrels, or us. The ripening cherries. Yeah, it's really. Hey, listen, that's what That's what makes you such a good fellow, honey. With your, I'm sure you're a good fellow anyway, but to start off with the way you bring on the old times, the old good times, the happy times. Absolutely. They are wonderful. They're loaded with iron, and they fight anemia.
Most people, I think, agree that they do good for you. It's just that most people...
You can even buy them in cans if you look around.
Yeah?
No, you take them when they're young, and the only thing that's bitter in them is that little bud where the blossom comes up. You pick that out, wash them good, and cook them in... I usually take some new potatoes, and you boil them together until the potatoes, by the time the potatoes are cooked, your greens are cooked. And then you put some butter and salt and pepper and vinegar on them.
Sounds good. It sounds very good. How come we call fresh potatoes just picked, we call them new potatoes.
Right.
But we call tomatoes we just picked fresh. All the other fruits and vegetables we call fresh, but we never say fresh potatoes. Why is that, do you suppose? That's your quiz.
A lot of the potatoes aren't fresh. They have been harvested and they're kept in bins or they're bagged or what have you.
Yeah, but if they're new...
I'm talking about the ones you pick right out. You sneak out under your potato plants and pick out the little ones, about the size of a hen's egg.
Oh,
Wash them good. You don't peel them. You eat them peelings and all and cook them right in with your greens. Like fiddleheads and... mustard greens and different ones like that.
I'm going to do that as soon as I get home.
People think that they're weeds, but they're not. Even when I was out in California, I said, I saw all these dandelion blossoms. I said, I wish I had seen those before they got into blossoms. So my aunt says, well, I picked them, and she took them and just took the little leaves off, and didn't take the big plant and cook it. And I was surprised. You just had to cook them a little longer because they were tough if you didn't.
Makes sense to me there, Dorothy.
The God Gospel Truth. Back in the mid-'50s, I was a young machinist for the GE down in Lynn, the Riverworks, Building 32. And this particular day, the authorities, the bosses came around, and they allowed us that they were going to have this dignitary in, and they were going to have his picture taken up against this particular lathe, and they'd hand him the supercharger part, which they made at the time, and they'd have the pictures taken, and then they'd continue on their walk, on their tour. Well, lo and behold, sure enough, the next day or two, the dignitary came by with the big shots in the GE, and there's 3 or 4 of us that had gotten wind of this thing. And one of us, I believe it was a fellow named Tommy O'Brien. I won't get him in trouble now because they can't fire him. He's probably retired. But we gathered around this one particular lathe where they had backed up to, presenting the dignitary this supercharger part. And Tommy is underneath with a broom handle attached to which was a 1-inch brush, and he's painting this guy's heels yellow. The yellow that they put on the floor to strike the floor with. Okay? And off they went. And that fellow eventually became president of the United States. It was Ronald Reagan. And if you recall, back in the 50s, he used to do, I believe it was 20 Mule Team Borax.
That's right. He was the narrator. Yeah.
And he made a tour of all the GE plants. And we often wondered if he ever recalled that incident.
That's funny.
That is interesting, isn't it?
I've forgotten about the 20 Mule Team Borax. Do they still make borax? I haven't heard that mentioned since then.
I don't brush my teeth with it, Norman. I don't know. What was that? A detergent or what?
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know. Was it like a powdery version of Brillo or something like that to clear stuff? Junk off. I don't really know. There was borax and boraxo. There were 2 different products, both obviously made by the same company.
But you know, I'm not really sure. There were so many products back there. I was thinking about Ipana for the smile of beauty and Sal Hepatica for the smile of health. You remember that?
Sure.
Fred, they sponsored Fred Allen. They're both out of business now. I wonder.
Oxidol.
Oh, Oxidol, yeah. Do they still make Oxidol?
I don't remember.
I remember, Oxidol's own Ma Perkins. Or there was Italian Bomb and Campana. They sponsored First Night, the First Nighter program. So many things have come and gone. Because I was kidding about Postum earlier, but I guess they still make Postum.
Well, they still make Ovaltine.
Oh, yeah, Ovaltine they're making a whole revival of Ovaltine. They're advertising it all over the place now.
Remember Father John's Medicine?
Father John's Medicine, that's right.
But
Lydia Pinkham, remember her?
Lydia Pinkham.
That stuff could cure any woman's ailment, as I recall. I mean, that's what they said, That was made out of Lynn.
That's right. It was made very close to the Marshmallow Fluff plant. That's right.
That's right.
Marshmallow Fluff is right down the street.
Durkee Moore's Marshmallow Fluff. It's kind of funny, all the things that we remember.
I'm telling you, but you listen to these advertisements on the radio and the games and the kick back and open up your package of wings.
Oh, wing cigarettes, yes.
Sure.
Yes. There were a lot of funny named cigarettes back then, too. A lot of cereals, too. There was one called Force. I can still picture the guy caricature on the front of the box of Force. Tons of cereals that no longer exist.
But some of that is planned obsolescence, don't you think, by the manufacturer?
You mean they just put it out for a while? They plan to go out of business with it?
Well, no, I think it's essentially the same product, but they cycle the name through the process.
Maybe they put out the same product under another name, like here's a newer than new one, and they give it a different name.
Sure.
Kind of inject new life into it. That could be.
Sure.
So I don't know whether to go to Wakefield tonight to go dancing, because my doctor said dancing is the best exercise for diabetics. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, no.
Yeah. It was $101 they paid for this 5-acre piece of property, How do you keep your voice so resonant all these hours in the morning?
I never noticed whether my voice was resonant. I just talk.
I got to tell you this. Every now and then I come up with a bright idea early in the morning, but the brain fizzles out as we go through the day. Jimmy Fox, Lefty Grove, remember them?
I sure do.
They're sitting in the dugout, in their waning years, as we say, and they're discussing baseball. All their lives they've been baseball fans. So now they're in the twilight of their career, and they're getting up there in years, and Lefty Grove says to Jimmy Fox, "Hey, Jimmy, you think there's baseball in heaven?" And Jimmy says, "I don't know. I never thought about it, but Lefty Grove says, well, Jimmy says, I got a pretty good idea. I tell you what, the first one who goes, you or me, Lefty, he goes up to heaven, and the next night he comes down and appears to the one surviving in a dream, and he lets the survivor know if there's baseball in heaven." And Lefty says, "Yeah, that's a pretty good idea." So Jimmy Fox, God rest his soul, he goes first. And Lefty's sleeping the next night, and Jimmy appears to him in a dream, and he says, "Hey, Lefty, wake up, it's me, Jimmy. I'm up in heaven. I found out. I got some good news and some bad news. The good news is, yes, there is baseball in heaven. There is. Everybody gets a hit. Everybody hits a home run. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. You can't miss. Everybody gets a home run every time they're up. That's the good news. The bad news is, Lefty, you're pitching Thursday."
Okay. Oh, Charles, you ought to do stand-up at the Comedy Connection. 500 boxes. Little Ashley Braddock did. But the award went to another girl who sold about 200 fewer boxes, and the reason that she got the award was because local officials say Ashley, the one who sold the most, broke the rules because she sold the cookies at a 25 cent per box discount.
She wanted to win so badly, and her mother wanted that. Her mother must have come up with a scheme, I would think. Maybe, I don't think an 8-year-old would come up with that kind of an idea. I can sell more cookies and win the prize if I offer a discount. So she took 25 cents off each box. Ashley's mom wants the Justice Department. You know, this is over Girl Scout cookies. What is this woman going to do when it comes to really serious issues, really moral issues? She wants the Justice Department to investigate, and she promises the battle over the Thin Mints and the do-si-dos will be anything but sweet. As she put it, they are not going to cheat my 8-year-old. You find something totally disgusting about that kind of a story?
Well, actually, at the beginning of the week, I was talking to some neighbors. To give you a point of reference, I'm 39, that famous number.
You say, John, you're 39. You know, that's a wonderful, age, you see.
See, that's why I called up. I had to hear you say that, Norm.
You see, and you knew that I'm ham enough to want to stop everything cold, even your wonderful story, just to throw that in.
Absolutely.
I'll be quiet now so we can hear the rest of it.
And the woman was in her mid-70s, and there was another young woman in her mid-20s. So, a fairly diverse age group there. And we were all, I happened to mention, did you put on the radio the other night? And guess what was on? The baseball game. And every single one of us was so sad.
Oh, thank you very much.
Just to show you how much we all love you.
You know something, John? You're okay in my book.
Hey, I heard you went out somewhere around here in the North Shore to some kind of event. There was an outdoor event. Is this past week?
This past week? Let's see. I probably did, but my life is such a whirl of social things that I may have forgotten. Also, my mind is turning to ashes also. I kind of forget along those lines as well.
Well, you're not 39, Norman.
No, I'm not. I haven't been 39 for a while. Where in Lynn do you live, by the way?
I live down around off of Eastern Ave.
Okay, yeah, because I lived on Baker Street off North Common there for about 6 years.
I used to live there.
On Baker Street?
Yes, I did.
No kidding.
Yes, when I was a little pup.
Oh,
and
son
I
of a
was
gun.
out selling Girl Scout cookies.
At a discount. And then arguing with them. And with the Justice Department and the Antitrust Division. I can't believe any mother would get that wrapped up. No, my wife was from Lynn. And when we first got married, the first 6 years we lived in Lynn. Before we moved out to the country,
Oh, I know. You live up in the vast country of Middleton.
The vast country of Middleton out there. We moved there quite a lot of years ago. But Lynn was kind of fun. I remember on the Common, they did have band concerts there.
Yes.
Every week, and that was kind of festive. I thought that was kind of nice.
Yes.
I kind of like that, you know.
That Girl Scout story brings to mind the family suing the other family for the young kids playing in the playground, and one was a bit rough on the other one. That happened within the past month or two. It shows you how far we've really gone.
I know it. I know. We've become so, I don't know, lawsuit happy or something, that we're ready to sue about everything, and we get angry about everything. That's really kind of sad.
Yeah.
And anyway, you're very good to talk with. I'm going to think of what did I do over the past week.
I could be wrong, though. I had spoken to the young woman about it. She said she was going to see you. Maybe it was next week.
I did have a couple of talks.
She said something about there'd be vendors there and all that kind of stuff.
I don't know whether that might be the thing we're doing today in Wakefield, but she said she'd already been there.
She said Wakefield.
So we haven't done that. That's today, starting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, there'll be all kinds of things going on.
That left me all warm and fuzzy inside. Oh, wait. Maybe that was what I ate last night. Nope, it's definitely from the show. Now, there was a mention of Norm Nathan Lane. After Norm passed, across from where his home was in Middleton, there was a development that was built across the street, and sure enough, the street name is Nathan Lane. Please give some thought to supporting my efforts here by checking out the ways to do so below. Thank you just so darn much. Closing the vault and leaving this world a little sillier than we found it. Having been a 2-hour show, there's quite a lot of credit, so get ready. 4. Acura. Massive lottery jackpots in the billion-zillion-Ds. General Publishing. Ruby Stevens. Matching birthdays with battling books. The Nathan School of Plumbing. Yesterday and Today. Family Ties. Dark Nights. Meryl Street. John Davenport and Elihu Yale. Dissatisfied office seekers. Poking around in the files. Boring voices. Unpronounceable towns in Minnesota. Howard Hughes's high-tech bras. The Spruce Goose. Blue Bloods with welded lower jaws. Prince Isaac Nathan. Big Ears and Bad Breath. Gerber Baby Food. Melon's Baby Food. Bernie Schwartz. Red Fox and Fred Sanford. The Westinghouse purchases of CBS Radio and TV, Infinity, and the town of Middleton, Massachusetts. Functional illiterates. The Davenport Sofa Company. Class Acts and Animal Lovers. Morris the Cat and Homeless Homer. The Animal Rescue League of Boston. The Heinz Pet Products Homeless Pets Program. Mutts, Mongrels, and Mixed Breeds. Star Market. Well-Earned Naps. Big Y Stores, Dwarf Rabbits. The 4-H Rabbit Club. Secret Animals Hidden in Sheds. Kibble. Dueling Godfreys. WAZL, WIDE. Bob Sacco. Technical Difficulties. WBZ Broadcast City, Granary, Fancy Gift Shop, and Perfumes from Foreign Countries Place. Resigning in a Huff. Greasy daytime TV talk show hosts. Tara O'Brien, Sherry Condon, Community Auditions, Using Name Tags at the Farm Stand, Ruth Clennett, Dandelion Wine, Asparagus, The Smells of Hot Tar, Ribbon Ink, Meatballs, and Other Olfactory-Induced Memories. The Merry-Go-Round Association. Classic products of yesteryear. Borax, Boraxo, Ipana, Salopatica, Oxidol, Campana Italian Balm, Postum, Father John's Medicine, Lydia Pinkham, Wings Cigarettes, and Force Cereal. Girl Scout cookie selling schemes. Jack Benny. The Celebrity Birthday Book, Robert Davenport, Sonia DiTomasso, Penny the Dog, Jack Hart, and the man who's uplifting just by himself, the resident-voiced, fabled, and legendary Norm Nathan. I'm just Tony Nesbitt.
I think he used some of his airplane technology to make sure that they defied gravity.